Hello and welcome back to the Jacksonville History Show. I'm Emily Rutherford-Liska, Executive Director of the Jacksonville Historical Society. In this segment we have just an iconic Jacksonville history event to talk about, and that is the Riverside Avondale Home Tour in its 37th year. And here to talk about that tour are two active, wonderful Jacksonville citizens. You're people who are saving our history, sharing our history. Carmen Godwin, Executive Director of Riverside Avondale Preservation, and Jean Grimsley, a board member at Riverside Avondale Preservation, affectionately known by all of us in the history business and everyone else too as RAP. Yes. So I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank you for, well, not you, Carmen, 37 years of a tour, because we were laughing. You barely make the mark. You were barely born at the time. And then I was laughing because I said, well, I was at either the second or third tour, but plenty old enough to have gone to the first one. And Jean, you moved to Jacksonville in what year?
In 1995.
And
transplanted from Washington, D.C.
And I have to congratulate you because you have become so active in Jacksonville, Florida, and in particular in Riverside and with the preservation movement. And
I think sometimes you have to be a transplant to really become a student of a city's history. When you grow up in a place like Washington, D.C., you take it for granted. When you come to a new place, you have to learn. So.
And Carmen, I'm going to start with you as Executive Director with some of these questions about the tour because what an event you're putting on. Give us just an overview of this event in the 37th year.
Okay. Well, we have 11 homes this year on the tour, and we have 2 historic schools and 1 business. And the business was originally a multi-use. It was the first pediatrician's office in the city, and the 2 pediatricians lived on the 2nd floor. So we have 14 locations in total. And we have the Riverside Trolley is going to be free as part of your ticket purchase, and so all the locations,
yes, for you,
most of the locations are in walking distance, a couple blocks from the trolley stop. We also have an art house. One of the homes is an art house, and so we'll have art galleries displaying art throughout the house. And we're very thankful to our sponsor this year, which is River City Restoration, and it's kind of nice to have a sponsor who actually does work that aligns with our mission, which is
a construction
preservation,
exactly, and designers too. I take it.
Right.
Okay, very good. Well, this is wonderful, and give me an idea about the diversity of homes people will see. I mean, first you've got schools, you've got a business, you've got art gallery space, but the homes and the style of the homes they'll see.
We have everything from Tudor to Mission to we have several Clutho buildings. Which you talked about earlier when you were talking about the Great Fire, and we
Colonial
have
Revival, Mediterranean Revival, 4 bungalows. That's Riverside's most predominant style of architecture. So we're having a small focus on that this year. But we have the greatest architectural diversity in Riverside Avondale of any district in Florida.
And let's talk about that a little bit because Riverside Avondale has a distinction. You won a huge award a year ago, and it's a top 10 neighborhood as stated by...
It's the American Planning Association, and we were the first neighborhood in the state of Florida to receive this honor of being recognized as one of the top 10 great neighborhoods in the nation. And they base that on a number of things, but it's based on being able to have public park space, the fact that we have river access, that we have you can walk to shops, and it's a true sense of community, and also preserves that historic character. So they looked at all those things, and it was a competitive process. So we're very proud of being honored
and
in that
should
way.
be proud. Well, let's get to some visuals of this home tour. And Jean, I'm going to call on you for this. One of the homes so well known in the Riverside area is known as the Bierbauer home.
Yeah, it's a
tongue twister. Bierbauer.
It's a fascinating house.
Here you go. It's up on the screen.
It actually was built in 1909 by Caspar and Ida Bierbauer, who are the couple pictured in the front yard. They built the home by hand. They harvested coquina from the shores off of St. Augustine, lived on the south side, rowed it in a little rowboat across the river to Avondale, which was then just wild hunting grounds. It's where people went to go hunt wild game.
In 1909?
In 1909.
Okay.
They formed it into blocks and then built the home. So the home is completely handmade. The pavers that are featured in the home are handmade by the Bierbauers. They had a very famous relative, Elsie Janis, who lived with them, and they made some additions to the home, 2 towers on either side for her. She was a famous actress and singer, as well known in her day as Flo Ziegfeld and Al Jolson. She also was the very first American entertainer to travel abroad during wartime to entertain the troops. She went to France in World War I, and so actually was the precursor to the USO movement. Then the home was sold to the Hendricksons, who were horticulturalists. They cultivated various unique ferns and plants in the backyard of the home, and it's believed that the leatherleaf fern, which is now the most prolific cut flower fern in the world, it's in every arrangement you ever get, was cultivated in the backyard of this house. They went with a commercial distribution down at their farm in Gainesville, but the original leatherleaf fern you can still see in the backyard of the home.
And what we're going to do in just a minute, they put the old one back, the original photo back up, the early one. We're going to go to what the home looks like today, an image of that. Here you go.
It's a spectacular house. It's very prominently sited in Avondale, very close to the shops of Avondale. The present owner, Ginger Harris, is only the 3rd owner of the home. She actually was on a waiting list with 20 other people to purchase the home from the estate, and had to sit down to a fairly rigorous interview process with Hendrickson family to earn the right to own the home, and has undertaken very extensive restorations. A lot of interior features remain. There's a gorgeous fireplace in the living room, and in the bedroom there are some lovely exposed beams, but the rest of the house has had a pretty substantial renovation, and then there's been an addition of a fabulous outdoor side pool, so it's nice.
And people on the tour will get to tour virtually every inch of this home.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. It'll be a great opportunity to see inside one of the houses you kind of otherwise only get to peer through the fence at.
Yeah. And such a notable home in that area. And as we talked about earlier before this interview, that this was a part of Riverside Avondale developed after the Great Fire. You know, when the neighborhood just took off. And exciting in that regard.
Well, we were really enjoying the previous piece on the 1901 fire, because Riverside really is a product of the Great Fire. Although it was platted in 1868, a Boston millionaire, Edward Forbes, who made his money in the opium trade, actually, he and a local land agent, Edward M. Cheney, became the co-developers, purchased the land of Riverside. But their home sort of sat in splendid isolation in Riverside until after the Great Fire, when people fled downtown, found Riverside, which had its own natural artesian wells, a perfect place to rebuild. And so we had Henry J. Clutho, a number of other notable architects. That's why we have such incredible architectural diversity, because our neighborhood became a proving ground for people who wanted to assert their individual architectural style.
In fact, we're going to show another one of those styles right now in another home that's on the tour. And if you will start telling us about this.
Well, this is a real coup for the home tour this year. This is the Cheney Cummer home, originally owned by Edward M. Cheney, the developer I was mentioning just a moment ago. It was built in 1870 and originally located down basically where the Cummer Museum Art Connection wing is now. In 1898, Wellington Cummer, who became the largest landowner in the state of Florida, had enormous lumber and phosphate concerns, had an agent who negotiated the purchase of the home for his son Arthur. And Arthur Cummer moved into the home in 1898, lived there until about 1908, decided it really wasn't modern enough for him, so he moved the house 200 feet back toward the river while he was building a modern Mediterranean Spanish-style structure. And then the house was put on a lumber barge and taken to Willow Branch Creek, where it was moved up onto its lot. Again, Riverside was not densely populated. They realized, though, that the house couldn't fit on the lot, and they had to turn it sideways, which is why it now looks more like a Charleston home than something that began as just a lovely country home.
And what's great is the Cummer Museum is offering anyone who has tour tickets an opportunity to buy one admission and get one free. So if you bring your tour ticket in, you can go visit the gardens there after you see the gardens behind the Cummer Cheney house. which will be available as part of the tour as well.
There's going to be a special docent-led tour of the Cheney Cummer home. So you'll get a chance to see the gorgeous gardens and then go through the first floor of the home. The owner is a Charleston interior designer.
In fact, we're going to show that close up right now. We have a couple of the photos of the interior of the home. Just beautiful. This is a taste of that. Take a look at that. Just a beautiful shot, I guess, in perhaps one of the living areas.
Well, what I like, Deborah Schneider and her husband Howard were very meticulous in their renovations, and they really didn't want to make it look like they'd changed anything. They just wanted to make it more comfortable. So even though the plaster walls were completely redone and the floors were redone and even the exterior wood remilled, there's nothing in the home that would be anachronistic for the time period in which it was built.
And in fact, we have another interior view of the home. And who would not want to have this bedroom? Just gorgeous, gorgeous.
The owner has an adorable little dog named Sarah, who is as well groomed as the home itself. And tour owners will have to keep their eyes open for Sarah because she is a sweet dog who lives a very lovely life in this home.
I would think any of a lovely life. And it was, I have to say, this tour is such a great value. I mean, the trolley alone is so much fun to ride. 11 structures on the tour. The addition of this connection to the Cummer Gallery because of the Cummer home. I mean, this is just an amazing feat. Once again, you've put together such great things. And in addition to all this, on the same weekend, you're running RAM, Riverside Arts Market.
Yes, in fact, we're encouraging people to visit RAM on Saturday, pick up the trolley from there, and then take the tour. But remember to get early bird prices. So Friday at 5 p.m., the tickets go up to $20. So they're $15 now. You can go to riversideavondale.org, and there's a link to buy your tickets online.
And is there any storefront where they might purchase tickets before then?
Fans and Stoves, Phillips Garden Center, Whiteway Deli, or they can come by the RAP headquarters and pick up tickets.
And also at the Arts Market.
And at the Arts Market,
at the Arts Market. So just wonderful ways to make all these purchases. We're going to try just for a minute to just whet people's appetite. If it hasn't been enough, we're going to see 2 more exteriors of homes on the tour. And if people can see this wonderful home on the very top, we'll pan over if possible. Very good. Excellent. And here's this wonderful columned home. Jean,
that is known as the Frederick McConnell home. It actually dates to 1904 and was originally located a block over on the river, but the McConnells, who purchased it from the original owner of the home, wanted to develop Elizabeth into the Elizabeth Place subdivision, a single street subdivision. So they moved this home from the river onto St. John's Avenue. And the owners, Terry and Bonnie Dennis, have done a meticulous restoration of this house. It was on the tour 3 years ago in its pre-restoration state, and now is really just a showcase for preservation restoration efforts.
And visitors will be allowed to go up and downstairs.
And make sure you get to the 3rd floor where there's there's a super cool 1,100 square foot British pub, Irish pub that they built into it.
And I think we have time for just one more exterior shot right here. This wonderful Henry Clouthier structure. You can tell about that, Jean?
That is known as the Love McGinnis Building. It was built in 1926 by Henry J. Clouthier for the city's first pediatricians. It was actually 2 gentlemen who operated their offices on the 1st floor. They had separate entrances, and then they shared a couple of communal living spaces upstairs, but also had separate living accommodations. It's one of the, it's on the Jacksonville Historical Register as one of the 100 most architecturally and historically significant buildings in Duval County.
We're going to have to wrap it up here, but one more time, we have just enough time to quickly say the tour is April the 16th.
April the 16th and 17th.